a video on a really easy set chocolate dessert. It doesn't need any baking, just needs you to heat the cream. So this is the biscuit base that I used. It was an experiment and I just wanted to see if we could make a biscuit base just using chocolate digestive biscuits without any butter, just to kind of see if I could work it like that, so we could cut down on the amount of butter we was putting in something, so it'd make it cheaper. It seems to have worked. There's 150 grams of chocolate digestive biscuits there. There is a video on it, so we'll see how it works out. If it fails, what I'll do is I'll change the recipe in the description, and I'll do the recipe for a proper biscuit base, which is smashed up biscuits, any biscuits you fancy really. Digestives are good. Ginger nut biscuits are just as good, if not slightly better, and you like that ginger kind of flavour. And then for the amount of biscuits you use half the amount of butter. But I'll change that in the description if this base doesn't work out. But it should work out because it's a set chocolate and a little bit firmer than something that you would use for just like a non-baked cheesecake. If you were making a non-baked cheesecake, I don't think that base would work particularly well. So we've got 400 milliliters of cream, which I boiled. It's still got enough heat in it that it's going to melt the chocolate. We've got 200 grams of dark chocolate. It needs to be dark chocolate because we're going to add cream and butter to it. So it'll lose some of its like chocolatiness. You can't use milk chocolate because it'll just won't be as chocolatey as you want it to be. Don't worry if you're not a fan of dark chocolate. I know there's people out there who don't like dark chocolate. Because we're adding cream and butter, it's going to lessen the bit. It's not really bitter, but it will make it the finished pudding taste more like a milk chocolate rather than dark chocolate. So don't worry, but use the dark chocolate. Cheap dark chocolate's fine. So we've got 400 milliliters of double cream, has to be double cream. 200 grams of dark chocolate, has to be dark chocolate, and then 50 grams of butter. That's salted butter. It doesn't matter. All that talk about using salted and non-salted in bakery is, in my eyes, a load of rubbish, because the amount of salt that you get in the butter, by the time you've added something else, you don't taste that salt, and a little bit of salt improves the flavour of chocolate. So that's salted butter, and what anyone else says, I don't care. So we boiled the cream, we smashed up the chocolate. What I did was just hold the chocolate in my hand and just smash them with a rolling pin, so they are melted. I think what we'll do, move that out of the way, don't know why that spoon's there. So open the chocolate, doesn't have to be uniformly smashed up, just needs to be smashed up so the cream can melt it easier. And then this one as well. So as you can see, some bits are big, some bits are small. It's fine how it is. Make sure we get all the chocolate in there. Cream has boiled, still have enough heat in it, so we'll pour the cream over the chocolate and then we'll melt it that way. As much of the cream out of there as possible. Like that, get that out of the way. And then move this so we can see a little bit better. Like that. And then it's just a simple case of whisking around. And the residual heat from the cream will melt the chocolate. You can't boil the cream and then put the chocolate into the cream in the pan, because there's just too much heat and it has a tendency to ruin the chocolate. Well, there's a danger. It's not always going to ruin it, but there's always a chance, and we don't want that chance. So when everything starts coming together, well, what we'll do is we'll add the butter in then, because there'll still be enough heat. And if there isn't enough heat in the cream, I'll show you how to fix that problem. That'd be embarrassing for me. It's just going to take a little bit longer because it's not as hot. Right, so that's starting to come together. As you can see, so it's become a lot milkier in the look of it. So we've kind of lost that dark chocolate edge to it. If you imagine if you'd used milk chocolate, it would have gone even lighter and not particularly very chocolatey at all, and you want it to be chocolatey. So then we'll put in the butter. The butter's going to add richness to this, and hopefully it'll set it and make it like a better texture, and obviously the richness as well. Smaller bits because we haven't got that much heat left in the chocolate now. and just a case of stirring, stirring and stirring. If you put the butter in it to start off with, it has a tendency to melt too much and split out, so the fat will want to come out of the butter, whereas this is like just an easy form of emulsifying the butter into the chocolate. And then I'm going to pour this over. I'm kind of thinking that I've probably cooled the cream down a bit too much. However, because of the biscuit base, it probably didn't want a hot liquid pour it onto it. So it's probably worked out for the best. We've still just got a few lumps of chocolate in there and butter in there. Yeah, we've still got some lumps. Apologies for the video being a bit longer than it should be, but it's just a few seconds. So that looks like it's all melted together. Is it? Can we see any bits of? There's a few bits of butter still. We just don't want any lumps of butter in the dessert. It's not a problem to have lumps of butter, it'll just ruin the aesthetics of it. Oh, that's a big word for today. So then pour chocolate into the mould, and then it's going to go into the fridge, and it'll set. Because of the chocolate and the butter, it'll want to set, and then you don't need to cook it. All you really have to do is boil some cream. Oh, look at that, completely guesswork. I was hoping, to be honest, that there was going to be a lot more, there was going to be a little leftover bit of chocolate so I could eat it myself, but it looks like the recipe is perfect for this container. So just like that, and then we'll put that in the fridge. It'll take a little while to set. Overnight would be best, but what we'll do is we'll stick it in the fridge overnight, and then we'll have a look at it when it's completely set, and we'll cut into it, and we'll see if that biscuit base holds up. Right, we've been in the fridge overnight, and it's set, so we need to get it out of that mould. Difficult because it's got a fluted edge. Maybe I should have thought about that a little bit better. So I'm going to use the plumber's gas thingamajig, which is it's a bit hardcore, if I'm honest, type of thing, but I've got one because I want it done. So what we do is we melt around the outside of the tart mould, and that will melt the chocolate and free it from the mould, and then we'll be able to have a look at it. We'll be able to cut into it. So just heat my knife up in some warm water, and then we'll see if the base works. I don't advise you do this at home. Oh, if you ever want to just make the top a bit shiny, what you can do is you can just run the heat over it, and it makes the top shiny again. You do that, and it just makes the top go shiny again. So turn that off, and then we'll just pop it out the mould. I won't burn my fingers. That will make a mess of my hand. So that's come away pretty easy. Not the easiest mould in the world to use. So we'll put that there. That out the way. That out the way. And then, nice and soft is this. It'll be extremely luxurious. Do we need to move the camera? No, I did pause the camera because actually it fell over and made a mess and made me look stupid. So we'll cut into it. Need to heat the knife up a little bit again. Heating the knife up will just make it cut through just that little bit easier. So which way, any way you kind of want to do it. So you can do triangles or you do straight pieces. I need to do it into half actually, because I'm giving half to my mum and half to a neighbour. So that there, through, nice bit of crunch. We'll move that away, and then we should be able to see how it looks. That's held together quite well. There you go. That's held together quite well. I don't think it's quite a rich thing to eat. Can we get a better view? It's quite a rich thing to eat. I don't think you need that much of a slice. I think you could make it in a deeper container, but you still wouldn't want to eat too much because it's basically like eating the inside of a like chocolate, like a fancy chocolate, like a ganache, and it's basically just chocolate cream and butter. You don't have to put the butter in if you don't eat butter. Don't put margarine or anything like that. You don't have to put the butter in, and the butter just makes it a little bit more luxurious and softer. And rich, it's a lot richer with the butter as well. So if you don't want to add the butter, you don't have to add it in. You don't have to, just don't add the butter to it. Just stick with the same amount of chocolate and butter, and it'll still set and it'll still be kind of nice and soft, but the butter just takes it to another level. Pretty straightforward. Yeah, so the biscuit base works. I'm going to have, I'll cut a bit for me. The biscuit base works with just the chocolate digestive biscuits. I don't think it'd work with a cheesecake because it's pretty soft, and a cheesecake would need something a little bit firmer than that to kind of hold it together. But yeah, it works. Nice, delicious. I don't know what else to say. Yeah, easy. I'll do the rest. I'll put the recipe in the description, and the different methods for the base, so you can have that. You kind of have that option. But yeah, I think it's a winner. Is that? I think it's lovely. And I think for essentially 4 ingredients, I think that's pretty spectacular, if I'm honest, and cheap chocolate as well. I'll work out the price, it's not that expensive really. For something that tastes that nice, it's extremely cheap. To kind of buy something like that from a specialty bakery or to go into a restaurant, they'd charge you an absolute fortune for something that you can make at home that's dead easy. Make it in any kind of container you want. That's what I'll have. I'll do it again, and I'll have a think about what kind of containers you can use. Because to buy something like that, I don't think it's entirely necessary. So I'll have a look at other things we can buy. So maybe I did a video on something similar to this, but I set it in an old margarine container, and I think we can do something. I can faff around with something and get a decent result from something like a margarine container with a little bit of thought. But I'll do that video, and it'll be like a part 2 to this. But yeah, it's delicious, and you really should make it. And people think you're wonderful if you do, and feed it to them. But there again, that's it. I think I've all got, yeah, so it works. Proud of that. Right, I've got a bit more to add. There's always something else. And I did think of 2 other things, but I'm only going to say one because I've got a bit of something I want to try. So you can see how soft it is. That was me taking a bite out of it. So it is extremely soft, and it's come out of the fridge as that. It needs to stay in the fridge. So look at it, that's how soft it is. So it needs to stay in the fridge. It won't set properly if it's out at room temperature. Certainly if you've got the heating on the house or anything like that, or on a warm day, it'll just want completely fall to bits. So it needs to be kept in the fridge, and needs to set in the fridge, and you need to serve it from the fridge as well. Or if you've got a really cold room in the house, that'll be fine, but you can see how soft it is. So, and that's straight out of the fridge, so it'll melt quickly. But there you go. I think that's it. It's delicious, you know. I use cheap chocolate. I forget what percent it is. I've got a bar of chocolate. I'm not allowed to keep chocolate in the house because I just eat it. So I think it's about 45%. Yeah, 44% cocoa solids, 44%. So the milk chocolate, you can't use milk chocolate because it'd be even softer than that, and it wouldn't be very particularly chocolatey. So the anything above 44% cocoa solids is going to work really well. If you like dark chocolate, go for a really strong dark chocolate, like 75, 80, 90%, and use the same recipe, and you'll get a completely different, like a darker chocolate version of this, which will be lovely. Don't be scared of the bitterness of the really strong cocoa solids chocolates, because you're going to water it down with 2/3 of it's going to be cream and a little bit of butter. So, but there we go. That's it. No more to say, I don't think. No more to say.